Mike could double them like Aaron's got his doubled.
Yeah. Nice, I like those. Nice skaters.
You tell me when we're ready. Okay. Well, we're waiting for Eva, because she's got to read the comments.
Do we have online comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she had a couple looking up.
About 5.
Okay, you ready? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, it's open. Yeah.
Okay.
So, welcome public to the public portion of our meeting. Eva has comments that have come in that she will read, and we will, Eva, let's address those like we did last time after each comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the first question comes from a parent, Lonnie Harris, and she has a question regarding a recent Duke University study which examined the effectiveness of different styles of masks. She sent a link to the article from KSL and highlighted a portion of it that said, neck fleeces, also called gator masks, and often used by runners, were the least effective. In fact, wearing a fleece mask resulted in a higher number of respiratory droplets because the material seemed to break down larger droplets into smaller particles that are more easily carried away with air. We were extremely surprised to find that the number of particles measured with the fleece actually exceeded the number of particles measured without wearing any mask. Fisher said, "We want to emphasize that we really encourage people to wear masks, but we want them to wear masks that actually work." Lonnie's question is, considering that the school district is planning on providing 2 gator masks to each in-person student when school resumes, can you tell me if this is something that concerns the board and if any different action has been considered?
I'm gonna go ahead, Superintendent, and address that.
Well, I think we talked about that in our earlier portion of the meeting, that we are gonna get further, Mr. Ben just gonna look into that further with some further information and get back to us. And we'll make a final decision of what we do there. We did point out that they're not required, they were never required in the plan. And we did point out that it's one study and you have to look and see how effective. And we wanted to look at what material it's made out of. These are definitely polyester, and that says fleece, and we've gotta decide if that makes a difference or not. And we also pointed out that, you know, part of our reasoning behind the gaiters was that we felt like students would more likely wear them, whereas with a mask, it might be a constant battle to keep them on. So we'll look at all those variables and make a final decision as school gets closer.
Thank you.
Erin Shumway commented, something to consider if dismissal times are going to be changed. The high school has always gotten out of school later than the elementary school. For working parents, it would be helpful if the high school kids could be released before the elementary kids, so that if they were needed to pick up their younger siblings, they could do so. As it has been in the past, the elementary students have to wait outside the school alone for 20+ minutes, waiting for their older sibling to pick them up. Thanks, Erin.
Wanna address that?
I would just say that we will try to look at all those variables and try to make the best decisions here. There's a lot of variables like that that play into this, and it's difficult to balance all of them.
Teacher Richard Kayer from Fallon High School asks, will we be having river students traveling up to Blanding this year?
The present recommendation is that the students that travel up from the river region to the mountain region would be enrolled in either option 2 or option 3 for the first quarter and reevaluated, just as the river region is 100% virtual for the first quarter and then evaluated at the end of first quarter.
Teacher Liz Adams from Blanding Elementary, she says, hi, I don't know if the board has voted on a shortened schedule or not. My comment would be that I would rather go to an early out schedule and not a late start. I feel like we would have better success in meeting with our offline students in the afternoon, and I feel like there are a lot of conflicts with students in extracurricular activities, lessons, etc. after school that would be affected. Also, students, at least younger ones, maybe not teenagers, learn better in the morning than they do in the afternoon. They are getting pretty droopy by 2:30 p.m. Thanks. And the last one is from Jay Porter, the principal at Blanding Elementary School. On the point of early release or late start, I would appreciate a decision made this evening. In principals meeting, the majority of the voices I heard preferred an early release. Our teachers are already pressed for time to adequately plan for the beginning of the year. Teachers are very anxious about what the schedule is going to be, and there will need to be some significant changes to master schedules. I feel it will hurt us to delay this decision any further. Thank you for your time, Jay Porter.
Okay, and you'll send a survey out.
Yeah, if that's what the board recommends, I don't know. You know, we have the association president right behind you there, and I don't know if he'd wanna dare speak on behalf of his teachers. Would they rather a decision be made tonight and a recommendation?
I think so, if you could. And
I mean-
I would echo what was being said about the early dismissal versus the later start. I think that's something that's,
Do you feel there would be a majority on one side of that than the other?
yeah.
What side?
I would think that the biggest majority, the ones that I've talked to, would prefer the early dismissal rather than the late start.
And certainly that's an option the board could take if they wanted to if they wanted to take that recommendation and move tonight, they could. So anyway.
No, I wasn't in the breakout session, but Steve and Lori were a year and a half ago and brought back some good information about how starting later is beneficial to especially secondary students, but to all of them. I know I help in elementary school, and I help kids who need help, who need additional, one-on-one help. And if sometimes my schedule has, or what I've done is help right at 8 o'clock, right when, or as soon as school starts in the morning. And sometimes those kids who need help aren't at school, and they come about the time I have to leave, because parents really struggle dragging kids out of bed, getting them going. And I agree with Liz Adams that, kids are dragging by 2:30. But if they weren't at school at 8 o'clock and they were at school at 9, that it's a natural clock is what we're told. Isn't that what you guys learned at that breakout session? It's a natural clock of teenagers for sure. But how many little kids are dragged out of their, hurry, you gotta get up, hurry, eat, or hurry, get on the bus, or hurry, go to school and eat, whatever it is. It just seems like we're fighting that all the time. We've had parents over the years ask why we start so early. Well, it's because parents go to work and they drop off their kids, and so we've, kind of scheduled it around that. But where we already have a late Tuesday start. We could and parents still complain about that. Why do we have to have one day that's different than the rest? But we could continue, because of this, we could start at 9 o'clock. This would be a good opportunity to see if it really is easier for everybody involved to start kids later, where they're not drug out of bed and hurry, wake up, let's go. Oh, they didn't get a decent meal. They didn't even get their hair combed, their face washed. And one other point that a parent recently brought up to me is we're going to more adequately, truly be able to check their temperatures if we're not rushed in the morning. But if we're rushed in the morning, those kids' temperatures, they're not going to check their temperatures at home if they're sending them early. And I don't know, I just think it would be a really good opportunity, because it's not meant to be permanent, to say, let's try this. Most school districts start at 9 o'clock or much later than 8 o'clock. Most do. As you mentioned, some of them start at 8, but this might be a really good opportunity to see if this works well to start later.
What would a 8:30 compromise look like? Because then you get still a little bit later and still out a little bit earlier
Well,
for the virtual.
the one thing that we did get a lot of input through the administration and principals was, they said their teachers greatly prefer as big a block as possible. Because if you break it
In one
into
time
smaller portions, it just seems like you get started and you have to stop. And so You're less motivated to get deep into something if you know it's gonna end quicker. And so, with that idea, we tried to find a time where we could get a minimum of 70 to 90 minutes and call it, this is a block that is a decent amount of time to really get going on things. And that was based on their recommendation. So I'm afraid an 8:30 start might break that up into even
To two.
smaller chunks.
Well, so look at this,
But we
there
can
was,
look at it.
there was a comment earlier that made me, think, okay, so it's actual, I thought it was maybe actual time to organize and be prepared to do the online, but it's truly time to connect with those students and the parents. If parents are working, they're still gonna be working in the afternoon. And if we started at 9, it would be a 7:30 to 9, where kids who are online at home, that may be just as good of a time to connect with people who hadn't had to get up and get their teeth brushed and get breakfast. They can do that, where in the afternoon, maybe they're, you know, maybe they're at
I
a
think
daycare,
you're gonna
maybe
have
they're-
other challenges. I think you're gonna have, if you have that in the morning, there's always things that interrupt that time, and if we're gonna use it to help best prepare and help work with, it needs to be that block, because in the morning, if we had a time period like that, parents come talk to you in the morning or whatever, and then so, and your principal or somebody else may come talk to you, and so then you're not getting that time to work. So there's that, where in the afternoon, or you may have teachers that are gonna be like, well, I gotta get this ready before school starts, and so I can't communicate with parents, or I can't do this, and so they're working on getting their lessons, which it's part of. The way I looked at it was partially planning, partially help,
It's
getting
having
grading.
all the extra responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes. So initially, that's what I thought, it was just a time period for teachers to prepare, but there was a comment earlier that made me realize, oh, that's when they're expecting to actually connect with these students.
Both correct.
So if there's a far smaller group of students that they're connecting with online than they have actually in their classroom, then it seems like to me that it might be easier and better, because that parent could maybe, if they're a working parent, they've got from 7:30 to 8 maybe, but in the afternoon, they're just gonna be at work. If they've got a regular, 9 to 5, we call it 9 to 5, but it's an 8 to 5 job, they're not gonna be around at all for that time period that we're carving out in the afternoon.
So
Anyway.
let me ask this. I know you'd like an answer tonight. However, would you be comfortable, and are we comfortable as a board in allowing that survey to go out? Erin, how long would it take to get that out?
I can get it out tomorrow.
So if it went out tomorrow, we gave 2 days, and based on the data that comes back, are we comfortable allowing administration to just make that decision based on the data, and could you hold off for a couple days?
I think that if you could have any data that you're collecting back and a decision made obviously before we start back with kids,
Sure.
Oh, yes.
I think
Yeah,
that
that's the,
teachers would be fine with
Okay.
that. I can tell you again, and I don't know, Matt, maybe you can help on this, but I've been talking with other local presidents and different, and there's a lot of anxiety going into this, as
Sure.
everyone knows.
yeah.
There's a lot of things that are unsure for teachers and I'm sure parents and kids and everybody involved. This is a new thing for all of us. And I know that there's a lot of teachers that have just decided, you know what, I'm not doing it anymore. And so we're gonna work really hard with our members, with the district administrators to try to help calm everybody down. And so I think as quick as we can make a decision, as much as we can help reassure the teachers that, we're gonna do our very best to take care of it. If we have a reason, they'll listen to whatever you choose. If you say this is why, they'll listen to you. There's gonna be some that grumble, but
Sure.
we'll do our part to help,
Appreciate it.
with any decisions that you guys make.
Well, with with what Mary said, yes, Steve and I did attend that, but, and I didn't disagree with the information, and I don't disagree with Mary's information, however, it's more than just one or two variables. There's so many variables in this, regardless of which way you do it.
Right.
And we're creatures of habit. I mean, I can guarantee if you say we're starting later, those kids are just gonna sleep in later. You're gonna be in the same mess you are in the morning, whether you're up early or later. So I feel with all those variables involved, the best thing to do is for us to rely on the data that the administration gets back. If you guys can hold off for a
Yeah.
few days, or do you feel that way?
I think we could have a decision made by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know why that early or late when school starts, knowing today or knowing next Wednesday makes any difference at all.
Well, and I don't know that it makes that much difference. I see what you're saying, and I don't know that it makes that much difference, other than, can you make that decision next week, or does
Well,
it
that
have to
was
be made
always-
tonight? Because I think that's where some people are misinformed, is that a decision has to be made tonight, so.
Like, what, for
Well,
what?
I could answer that question a little bit, Mary, because I found, in some ways, you'd look at this and you'd say, well, the bell schedule, whether it's here or there, is gonna be pretty much the same. They're gonna have 8 periods, and
Yeah.
so you're gonna prepare pretty much the same. But where I see a big difference is in the anxiety of the unknown. There's so many unknowns that we are dealing with, and they seem to change daily, that, and I've just watched this play out. I'm not a counselor or an expert in any way in this area, but I have noticed there seems to be more mental anguish, this, just dealing with these unknowns. And as we get closer to the year starting, the more unknowns, our staff, our teachers, our faculties, I can see more anxiety than, and so it would be one more thing that would be clear in their minds, and they could say, okay, at least I know what that's gonna look like. So
other
that's
thing-
where it matters
Yeah.
quite a bit,
But
even
next
though.
week would be.
The
a
other
week
thing I would
from
add
today
to
would be-
that is that as principals kind of prepare their trainings for teachers as we start off the new week, usually we try to get those in Monday or Tuesday, and then they give us a lot of the remainder of the week to work in our classrooms and get things ready to go. That might be one thing, like, who was it? The principal, is it Jay, mentioned that it would help. I'm sure it would help them plan too, to be able to know what they can bring for us.
So let me ask, are you, I'm gonna ask each board member, are you more inclined to let admin make that decision based on the data? Okay,
I am.
Nelson, are you more inclined for that decision also? Give me his name again.
He's there.
Nelson? Can't hear me. Okay, so let's move on with that.
Yes, okay, I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
So-
I'm inclined for that.
Okay, thank you, we good? Okay, let's move on, and then they'll work on that and get that out as soon as possible. And hopefully we can get on top of that. Okay?
2 more emailed ones.
Oh, yes.
Did you have a comment or two after me?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, one is in relation to that, again, it's from Mason Lyman. He says, I think we need a parent survey because in a household where both parents work, a late school start is very difficult for us to be on time for our jobs, specifically if we both work for the district. Once the kids are in the routine of getting up and getting ready for school, it's not that big of a deal. I, as a parent, would also prefer when teachers call me that it be in the afternoon when I have the time to talk to them about it clearly instead of while I'm trying to get ready for the day. And the last one that was emailed is from Cambria Palmer from Albert R. Lyman Middle School. She asks, if a student is enrolled in option 3 and decides it's too difficult, are they allowed to switch to option 2 before the term or semester ends, or do they need to wait until a new term?
Option 3 is designed to be quarter by quarter. It's a grading period, and you sign up for an extra curriculum. So I would say that's very difficult. We know that option 2 and option 1 are connected together. They're the same curriculum. So if they're looking for that type of flexibility, I think option 2 is the better choice for that student.
Anything else?
Those are all the emailed ones, and I'll
Okay.
turn.
So I have a couple of questions, and kind of along those, so I listened to you talk about extracurricular things before. One of the things that's been brought to me multiple times if a student chooses option 3 or a parent chooses option 3, the child can still participate if that's happening. Who is responsible for the grade checks? Who is responsible when it's time for the academic component of that to be in place? How does that work?
We'll have to work through those issues, but, you know, they're similar to, we have to propose a new policy that will state that, and you'll see a policy come to the next board meeting that will account for how do we check attendance, how do we check participation, and eligibility will probably be written in there as well. But it will be looser, it has to be. There is still a teacher of record on option 3. They're still assigned to someone that has to grade any specific assignments or anything and monitor progress. So there's still a way that eligibility can be accounted for.
I have a couple more, if I'll try to, I'll do my best. The next one was, now I forgot. Oh, one concern was, we're supposed to clean our classrooms before a new group. So say I have 8 periods and I've got to clean, and we shorten the day down so we have a shorter day. How do we make the most time out of that to make sure that it's safe for the kids? Are there any recommendations? Like I heard yesterday when our staff met, I can't remember who it was. If you purchased some stuff that had some bleach stuff in it, and we might not want to let the kids handle that, so the teachers have to do that. How thorough? What's the protocol there as far as cleaning before the next classes?
So the state recommendation has come out and basically been fairly strong in stating that they don't want kids handling sanitation wipes or anything like that to clean down. You know, I had a discussion with Paul yesterday. We do have gloves that have been delivered from the PPE standpoint. But as far as working with Kedrick on custodial, we're working to try to get spray bottles into every classroom. Whether or not we use gloves and face masks and want to rotate, or maybe have a couple of kids that could, you know, use some of the rags to wipe some of those things down is something we're looking into. But as far as the recommendations that we got from the state, they do not want the kids handling the cleaning materials.
And I understand that, but on the same note, as teachers, we're not going to want to waste 10 minutes of our teaching time if we're already shortened down. And so I have a 40-minute class now, I have a 30-minute class. So that's going to be a learning process we're all going to have to do. My next question was, at the end of last year, we changed our district-wide grading criteria. Is that going back to what it was before fourth term? Are we back to a 93% an A or?
What was in place before fourth quarter, yes.
And that's standard, because I've had conversation with teachers and I've instructed them that they need to follow that, because that's district policy, that a 93% is an A. I can't have a teacher saying, well, in my class, you gotta get a 96. So I've had to talk to teachers about that and just remind them, but this last term it was a little crazy, so I just wanted some clarification on that.
We're going back to what was before fourth quarter.
Perfect, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Nothing else, Eva?
I don't have any more emails.
All right, we're gonna move to consent agenda. So I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Steve, any
I-
discussion?
Yes, Kyle, on
Yes.
board travel report, I know last time I couldn't find something and everybody else had it, and then you showed me where I was at on my computer, so. But why is, all I have is $4,500 and?
So that's the board training budget. There hasn't been any board. So when we run that alley report, it doesn't pull anything because there's been no activity. So I'll make sure that the balances are on there for next month.
Yeah.
I noticed that this afternoon as well when I looked at the report.
Yeah, all of us should be listed on there, and
And have your
we need to be
designated.
able to review that, because there's been so many problems through the years, seems like almost every year that we reviewed it. What should have been carried over, wasn't carried over, and,
I noticed that
there's
this,
been such, inconsistency
Okay.
with it. Anyway, so,
Anything
yeah,
else?
if you could provide that, that'd
I'll
be
make sure the
great.
balances are on there for next month.
Anything else? Okay,
Um,
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're gonna go to possible action items. The first one is the Bluff property offer acceptance.
move to, accept the high bid that was submitted to us by May 31st, contingent upon administration being able to work with the bidder to satisfactorily finalize the agreement.
Okay, so we have a motion by Steve for the second. Lucille's gonna second that. Any discussion?
I'm going to recuse myself from the vote. I recuse myself from a closed session, so I don't have the information that all of you have, and I won't be
Okay.
voting.
All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Number 2, the 2021 fall school extracurricular schedules.
I move to accept the posted 2020-21 fall school extracurricular schedules.
Second? Lucille made a second. Any discussion? Do we need to clarify that, or do we accept them all?
We just don't know, you haven't yet got to you whether you're gonna recommend 100% virtual in the river region. So if you are, you may wanna put an exclaimer in there that if a school or region is 100% virtual, their athletic schedule will be suspended until they come back to in-person.
Okay, I withdraw my motion. I move to accept the 2021 fall extracurricular activity schedules, and we will, and also to suspend activities in any school that is 100% virtual.
Okay, motion by Mary. Second by Lucille. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Number 3, online payment convenience fee.
I move to have the district absorb the 2.99% fee that is charged, and not charge it to the fee payer.
Okay, so motion by Mary. Second by Lucille. Any discussion?
I'm a little bit hesitant with the term absorb, because I think, we can include that as an administrative cost in the fee spend plan,
Okay.
That was part of the, what do you call it, that fee that we charge
Oh,
every.
the program
Yeah,
sustainability
the
fee?
sustainability fee. It's
Okay.
just a maintenance cost, a management cost, and overhead cost of collecting fees, so.
Do you want to
Well, if
withdraw
there
your
is
motion?
technicality in that, I will withdraw my
Okay,
motion
no,
and you can
no.
make.
I would just,
No, if,
So
no,
just
I'm
not
fine
to charge
with
the
that.
parents for the.
Yeah, so I'll withdraw
Yes.
my motion, and my motion is not to charge the parents or the fee payer at 2.99% or whatever the fee is. Is it
Processing fee.
2.99% processing
Processing
fee?
fee.
My motion is to not charge the fee payer that fee.
Okay,
That's more general.
motion by Mary.
But, is there a discussion? I will look to discussion.
Second by Lucille. Discussion?
I would say that by your rationale, President Black, you're building it into the
Spend plan.
if we see that there's quite a bit of cost there, you're gonna find that the next year, the advisors and the coaches over those sports are gonna come back and say, boy, there was an extra cost that we didn't see, we wanna bump that up. So in the essence, it would still come back to the parents in that form, but be aware that.
So, but the motion, the way it is right now, it can be absorbed by the district. For instance, the students use textbooks that the parents aren't technically, they're not charged for. They don't have to pay for those textbooks because the district absorbs those costs, like a million other costs to teaching or to school. So, I mean, that leaves it very general,
Just
and
just clarification, so if a parent pays $30, let's say, for a fee, that 2.99% will be deducted from that $30 prior to that being deposited into
No.
No,
that's
they
how it
just-
operates currently, that's how QuickBooks operates currently, if they take a credit card.
It does what now?
If they pay a $30 fee, the 2.99% is deducted from that $30 and the rest is deposited into the designated account. That's how QuickBooks operates currently.
Well, if they
No,
have a fee
because-
that's $30, then they're gonna pay $30.
Plus.
They will pay $30, but I'm saying that the school will only receive 30 net the 2.99% processing
Well, then
cost.
Yeah.
that's not, if, they have to pay the 30 if that's what the fee is.
Correct, the parent will pay the 30. What I'm saying is, if you go to Salmon High School and pay $30 for your student, you will swipe your card for $30. That program that you're paying will receive the 28.76% because the processing is deducted from that $30 prior to being deposited into the school account. That's what I'm just trying to clarify. That's how it operates, that's how it currently operates.
Why don't they take the whole deposit and then, I mean, I run credit cards all day long. So mine, I get the fee, I mean, I get the money, the exact amount I charge, and then the fee is automatically taken out of my account in one lump sum at the end of the month.
So this
Is that
does,
not how it works?
this does it per transaction, it doesn't do it on a monthly basis, it's per
Can you
transaction.
change that?
I don't believe so, I believe that's standard, but I can look into that, but I don't believe so. I believe that's standard practice per transaction is the language that they use.
Because most places don't, they just charge us flat out based on your usage, and whether it's a Visa, Discover, MasterCard.
What's the program that you use?
I use an Open Edge terminal, virtual terminal.
Yeah, QuickBooks is the per transaction fee is how they do
So
that.
anyhow, you just run them, and then and the fees are based on the card, whichever kind of, whether it's keyed, whether it's swiped, whether it's, I mean,
Correct.
and that variable fluctuates all over the place, but it doesn't exceed a certain amount, but then I get that fee at the end of the month.
Yeah,
The
this
way
is per
that does
transaction.
that, it does line up really well with what Stephen was saying. It's coming out of that specific program, as you kind of implied that it ought to come out of that program where the sustainability fee, so,
But that defeats the very thing we were
well,
talking about
Yeah.
is,
in the end, it could come back and just cause for the sustainability fee to be requested to be raised, increased.
yeah,
in
which the
future
people who
years.
are paying the fees are still paying, and people who aren't paying the fees aren't paying. But there's not, you don't know the way that they can just be charged their $30, that the program get $30?
They're gonna charge that processing fee, so if you wanted, and again, that was the previous discussion, whether you wanted to increase the cost, if you bumped it up so that it was a flat $30 that was being processed, but that percentage of fee processing is the catch-all as far as what's holding up or what's causing this conversation. Cause traditionally in the past, when we've taken credit cards, that's how QuickBooks
And
processes it.
QuickBooks, that's the only program that can be used?
That's the one that we have that's in all of the
But
schools.
But is it the only program that can be used?
No, you can buy other school level softwares, there's Class Wallet, there's other institutions. We looked at some of those and those are some of the ones that we reviewed and some of those percentages are much higher than QuickBooks. We have a QuickBooks established throughout the entire district, and so if we look at a different system, it would be wiping and starting over new.
Yes,
But if you pay $30, if you go in and pay $30 as a parent, you're gonna have 87 cents taken out of that $30, and that's the amount that will be deposited into the specific program that you're paying. Volleyball, football, that's how it works currently. That processing fee is deducted from that total amount and the rest is deposited into the account.
So have you checked to see if there are school districts who they have that convenience of paying with a credit card and how they're doing it, whether or not all parents across the state, if they're paying with a credit card, they're paying that fee, or the district absorbs that?
It's split. There's probably about, of the 18 districts that I talked to, there's probably 9 that add a convenience fee, so the parent, instead of paying $30, would pay $35, and it's a flat fee. You pay $35 for the processing convenience, the net deposit would be deposited into the account, and there's others that don't, that just absorb the cost like we have in the past.
So on the 9 who add the convenience fee, what do the 9 do? How are they doing it?
So they add that into the invoice or into the total amount. So again, if you come in and you need to pay a $30 fee, they would tell you your fee is $35, even though $5 is not the exact amount of what it costs. That's the convenient cost that they put on that transaction of processing your credit card at the school.
Okay, but that means they're paying that. So So the 9 schools who charge a convenience fee, now we'll put those over there. You said there's about 18 districts that use credit cards. So what do the other 9 districts do who are not charging
They
that
absorb the
convenience
costs, they
to
absorb the
the-
costs like.
Yeah, so
QuickBooks.
what are they using? What kind of program do they use?
QuickBooks, Class Wallet.
Okay, you said we can't do that with QuickBooks, that it automatically charges the parents.
Oh,
So
so, I'm sorry, restate your question, Mary.
So, you said 18 districts. use-
9 of them add a convenience fee, we're back on to
Okay.
the other 9.
Okay, they add the convenience fee.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're not wanting to do, is
Right.
add that
Right.
convenience fee. So the other 9 districts, how do they do it? And if they're doing it, can't we do that?
So they don't add a convenience fee. What they do is what we're currently doing as far as they absorb the cost of that transaction, understanding that if someone comes in and pays a fee of $30, that program is only gonna receive.
And is that even, with the new fee waiver laws and everything, I wouldn't think that that's even a legal thing to do. If that fee is $30 and the school doesn't get the $30, that program doesn't get it, I would think that that's not
Well,
legal.
the new law requires that there's transparency, the parents see exactly where the fees go, and that they're not paid more, that they're not
Paying
ever
more.
charged more than what the spend plan says they will be charged. So I think that is probably legal, because you can verify that your $30, 2.9% of it's gonna go to pay for the convenience of that card, and the rest is going into the program. I think there's transparency there.
Well,
but-
I'm just saying, if everybody else, so somebody pays cash, their $30 all goes into that
Mhm.
fee that
Mhm.
says, you know, the cheerleading skirt was $30. But somebody who used a credit card didn't pay the full $30. They didn't fully pay for their.
I wonder
I'm
if
just
you're
saying,
gonna-
I'm not sure that that's legal.
I wonder if
to-
you'll get coaches and advisors that'll say, hey, tell your parents to pay in cash. I get a few more dollars in my account.
Well, the thing that's happened
Just,
just this last week is I was actually at the school, and there were several parents because of that convenience fee. And granted, we're following the COVID, so they have to leave, go down, go to their bank, get the cash, come back, or get a check and come back because of the convenience fee. They don't wanna pay that.
Correct. And we-
So, I mean, I get that, but there's gotta be a way that we swipe, we get the thing.
Yeah.
You would know a lot about that. What do you think?
You're talking about a cash flow perspective,
Correct.
Yes,
you know, so.
yes.
Um, but like I say, if you just increase the sustainability fee a little bit, assuming that people are going to pay by credit card, because most people do these days, you know, then theoretically the program will still get the same amount of money, just rather than individual convenience fees here and there, you know, you're just gonna get a blanket increased convenience.
And for our invoices, we can do that. They can run the 2.99% on whatever the total would be, let's say for $30 again, and so your total when you came in and paid for the card would be $30.87, and then $30 would be deposited into the account after the process is.
So real quick, so at the end of the day, QuickBooks withdraws the 2.99, or at the end of the day, does QuickBooks say, hey, we ran this many cards, let's take this much from the district's fund?
Everything that I have read has said it's per transaction, it's not a daily.
So you get a
intake.
humongous report that's probably 20 pages long showing every single transaction at 2.99%.
Correct.
And they make a lot of money.
I know.
well, here's the
Okay.
thing, I still don't
Right.
see how with the new, fee waiver laws or, that can be legal, that somebody, Lori comes into the office and she pays $30 for that cheerleading skirt and it all goes into that account, that we say, that's how much it costs and that's how much the parent is going to pay for that, or the child's gonna pay for that. And I come in with a credit card, and so part of that goes to pay a fee, and that skirt did not get fully paid for because I paid with a credit card. So I don't see how that,
Well,
Legally.
under the description that Steve just gave us, you would put in our description underneath the sustainability fee, we've got, these are the possibilities of what this pays for. This pays for materials, for equipment, for, you know, we've got all those uniforms. We would say, and, convenience fee when paying with a credit card. then if I'm hearing you right, you're talking about maybe having a good average of what you would account for throughout that program, and you're gonna raise it up to recoup that average. So every parent's gonna pay really a convenience fee, whether they use a card or not. They're gonna pay maybe $1. It might go up $1, or $5, but it'll be in the description, so parents would be aware of what they are also paying for the convenience of being able to use a card. But it'd be very transparent, it'd be right there. We'd have to add it to our spend plans when they read it, and if enough parents came forward and said, no, we don't all wanna pay an average of it, let the parents that wanna pay with a credit card pay it. Then we'll be back to this point where we'll be saying, okay, if they come in with a credit card, just let it go to the parents that wanna use it. And then if they do that, we're back to adding it onto the total and giving the $30 to the program and an extra $2.99 added on to the expenditure. But
Kinda complicated,
I see what you're
isn't
saying.
it?
If you just build it in, it's built in.
Right.
And it probably won't get too much, I don't know, but there's a chance it doesn't get a whole lot of concern because it's so small.
Both Kathleen and
Maybe, maybe
Catherine
not.
have both expressed that they've had parents show up to pay and, oh yeah, if you can send me an invoice, oh, there's a 2.99, no, I'll just pay cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
A lot
then
of
they
people, I
leave
don't,
and then they
I don't
come back,
use a
so-
credit card if somebody's gonna,
Back to the motion. Who
Mm.
made the motion? Where are we even at?
I think I did.
So, okay, I'm open this
That was a
up.
while ago.
Withdraw
But
the,
it's more complicated than I ever thought,
Okay.
and I think,
so you made the motion to
yeah,
accept
but
for the
I
parents. Do you
I
wanna
still
keep
have a
your
comment.
motion?
I think one way or another, as I know, my kids have young kids and they're not paying these fees yet, but I know, and Kyle's in that same, generation where I'm not even sure if my kids have checks. They don't, we're going to need to be at a point where that is way of paying's a thing of the past, and we streamline it, and as you mentioned before, we just take a credit or debit card and then we've got the money, and then if they're paying their credit card off, that's not our problem. We have the money. You mentioned that there are outstanding accounts that some people, we never get their money from them. And so I think it's something that we do wanna look at streamlining, and that's how you pay.
I don't think there's a system that I'm aware of that you can process a credit card that they will not charge you some type of a fee or transaction.
Well, they'll charge you a
Right.
fee, it's just
Yeah.
however we wanna do it.
Yeah, so,
Okay, so do you wanna keep your motion? That's what we're to.
I'm not sure now,
Do you wanna start a motion again?
I'll withdraw my motion
Steve, do you
for
wanna
the
make a motion?
moment. I'll withdraw it.
Okay. So I move that, we charge a single fee to parents regardless of payment.
Okay,
The
Steve
published
has a
fee.
new motion. Who has the second?
I'll second it so I can
Okay.
comment. We've already approved the fee schedule, we can't do that right now.
We could next year.
To make
We could
modifications
next
next
year.
year.
So I think,
Okay, new
And you
motion.
can if you go back through a 3-month process, if you were to run
Right.
all of them back through a
All right.
3-month process.
And I'm not proposing to raise a fee or charge a fee, I'm just saying a single, we publish what the fee is, you pay that.
Can we do
So you
that?
come up with a new
do it
standard.
this year.
So if they use a card, who pays the 2.99?
That's what he's saying, we'd increase the price on
We
those.
just charge a flat out
Yeah.
fee. Not based on the transaction, whether it's, we just say, to run your card, it's $2.
2.99.
No, it's
Oh.
$2.
That's charging more than what the percentage is, and that
Yeah.
violates the
But- well, that's
fee
what he's
policy.
Well,
saying.
he just
Charge
threw that
flat out
out, but
fee.
you could adjust it.
Okay, new motion?
Maybe this is a discussion
Yes.
for when we got more time, and maybe since the fee schedule's already been set, then we're kind of late in the game to be adjusting it for
Let's-
this year.
Okay.
Let's go. I want it, but
What's
your
your-
motion's on the floor, so.
Well, if I don't have a second, okay, there's not a second. Anybody wanna make a new
So-
motion? Oh, you did second it?
I did, so we
Okay.
could discuss it, so
Okay.
I'd like to go back to my original motion that for this year, they're not charged that, and,
Can we figure it out?
but I got a motion on
And
that.
that's what I said too, it just a different word.
Okay, so we are back to Mary's
I think
original
so.
motion.
You said we would,
Okay,
yeah.
we're back to your original motion. Will you state it again, please?
Well, he's gotta withdraw his,
Well, yours was ahead of his.
unless it dies of, for, no, I withdrew
Yours
it.
was you withdrew yours completely?
Mhm.
I can't even follow this end of the table.
My
Okay,
understanding is that if it's seconded, then I can't withdraw it, it's the board motion.
Oh, well, I withdrew a couple that were seconded.
I'm gonna
So,
swear right now. Now, where are we
let's-
at?
Yes, you can call for a vote
You
on
can
it.
call for a vote and it can
Okay,
be, it can be
so I need
voted
to
down
know,
to start over.
okay, we had a motion by Steve, a second by Lucille. All in favor? Okay, it failed, so now we need a new motion.
Well, do any opposed? You gotta do
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
I
then we
abstained.
Abstain. What are you doing?
Abstain.
abstain.
And I'm nay. So,
Nelson doesn't even know where we're at.
so it fails.
Okay,
So
so
I'm
I'm opening the floor for a new motion.
My motion is that when people come to the schools, when we have parents and our students who come to the schools to pay with credit or debit card, that they do not have a fee on top of their regular charge for this next coming school year.
Okay, motion by Mary,
I will second that without a convenience fee.
second by Nelson.
You are there.
I'm
Good
afraid
job.
to say the next word. Is there any discussion?
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I know the river.
Okay, number 4, COVID-19 student reentry plan. Next steps. So, what this,
Motion.
go,
Motion to accept COVID-19 student reentry plan. Next steps.
Nelson, do you want to clarify we're not adding the just a time schedule at this point, or no?
It says,
Yeah, it just says that we'll find a time, so
Oh,
I think you
okay,
could
yeah,
approve it.
okay, perfect.
yeah. I'll
Second,
second it.
second by Mary, discussion,
Who need to authorize the superintendent to make the decision?
I think part of that is,
You could either do it in this motion revised, or you could do it in a separate motion. It's all related to the same
Okay.
topic.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Would you like to make that motion?
And I authorize I move to authorize the superintendent to make the decision relating to early, versus late dismissal.
Number
Or
2.
start versus
we're,
late
we're
dismissal.
still on the number 4 COVID, but
No, well, yes.
yeah, you can
yes,
have a
yes.
new.
Okay, so, motion by Steve. What?
We don't have a line item for that, but,
It's still part of this though.
okay, I'll second it.
Okay, second by Mary. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Do we need to vote on the board meeting schedule?
I don't think so.
Do you
That
feel
should
we
be
need a
good.
motion?
I
Okay.
move to, due to COVID-19 concerns and changing locations of where we hold our board meetings, to be able to offer those meeting online to participants. That we hold our September and October meetings at the school district, the San Juan School District building, and look at it in October. Review in October again.
Okay,
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We now need to go into closed session for discussion of personnel, so I need a motion.
I move to go into closed session to discuss personnel.
Motion by Mary,
Second.
second by Lucille. Roll call.
Steve Black, yes.
So, yes.
Mary Shumway, yes.
Lori Mon, yes.
Nelson Elman, yes.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. See you next time.